Hello, I'm Stephen Koprince, Managing Partner of Koprince Law, LLC. And today I'm here to talk about an interesting case involving affiliation between companies controlled by close family members. A self-certified small business was recently found affiliated with a company owned by the business owner's father. And this happened even though the son's company, the self-certified small business, had no meaningful business relationship with the father's company. In a recent size appeal decision, the SBA Office of Hearings and Appeals held that this self-certified small business had not rebutted the presumption of affiliation with the father's company, not because the two companies in question did business together, but because the father and son were jointly involved in a third business and thus couldn't establish that their personal business interests were separate. SBA's decision in size appeal W&T Travel Services LLC, the docket number, if you want to look it up on the SBA's website, SBA number SIZ 5721. This case involved an Air Force solicitation in which the Air Force was seeking a contractor to provide bus transportation services at bases around the San Antonio area. The solicitation was issued as a small business set-aside. After evaluating proposals, the Air Force announced that a company called Brymac & Associates, Inc., Brymac, was the apparent successful offerer. One of the unsuccessful competitors, W&T Travel Services, then filed an SBA size protest. W&T alleged that Brymac was affiliated with a number of other entities. The SBA area office investigated the size protest and determined that Brymac was 100% owned by a gentleman named Chris Hamby. Chris Hamby also served as Brymac's secretary, treasurer, and sole director. Not surprisingly, the SBA area office found then that Chris Hamby controlled Brymac. Chris Hamby also had ownership interests in several other enterprises. One of these was called the Hamby Enterprises Partnership Limited, which I'll call HEP. Chris Hamby owned a minority interest, 49% of HEP. His sister also owned 49%. Chris Hamby's father, a gentleman named Terry Hamby, owned only 1% of HEP. Chris's mother, Judy Hamby, also owned 1%. However, Terry Hamby and Judy Hamby were the managing general partners of HEP, whereas Chris and his sister were limited partners. So the SBA area office found that Terry Hamby and Judy Hamby actually had the power to control HEP, not because of their 1% ownership interest, but by virtue of their managerial powers as the general partners. The SBA area office then concluded that Brymac was affiliated with HEP based on the family relationship among the Hambys and their mutual involvement in HEP. Now, this is all actually background information, but it's important background information, because HEP is not the reason why Brymac got into trouble here. The next company the SBA area office took a look at was yet another entity called Hamby Farms LLC, which I'm just going to call HF. Now, Hamby Farms LLC, HF, was owned 50% by Terry Hamby, that's the father. Terry also served as the managing member of HF. So, not surprisingly, SBA area office determined that Terry Hamby controlled HF. However, in this case, the SBA area office found that Chris Hamby was not involved in HF in any way, that Brymac had never had any business relationship with HF. So, unlike the analysis of the previous company, HEP, where Chris and Terry were both involved in that company, the SBA area office found that Brymac and HF were not affiliated. And after doing the math, the SBA area office found that Brymac was an eligible small business for purposes of this Air Force bus transportation contract. Now, W&T, which had been the initial protester, they lost and they filed a size appeal with the SBA Office of Hearings and Appeals. W&T made a number of arguments, but primarily that the SBA area office had erred by failing to find Brymac affiliated with HF. HF, the one that was controlled by Terry, but which Chris Hamby was not involved. Now, the SBA Office of Hearings and Appeals noted that under the SBA's affiliation regulations, there is, and I'm quoting here, a rebuttable presumption that close family members have identical interests and must be treated as one person. That's the end of the quote. Now, although this presumption can be rebutted by showing what the SBA calls a clear line of fracture among the family members, a clear line of fracture only exists when either there are no or very minimal business ties between the family members, or where the family members are actually estranged from one another. In this case, the SBA Office of Hearings and Appeals wrote, "It was erroneous for the SBA area office to find that a clear line of fracture existed between Chris Hamby and his father, Terry Hamby. Now, the SBA area office had already determined that the family members in question, that's Chris and Terry, had common interests in one company, HEP. Remember, Chris was the 49% limited partner, Terry 1% owner and general partner. Now, even though Chris Hamby and Brymack weren't involved in HF, that's the company controlled by Terry, the common interest, Chris's and Terry's common interest in HEP, meant that Chris and Terry should have been treated as one person for all purposes. And that means that if they're treated as one person for all purposes, that Brymack should have been found affiliated with HF. The reason being that if Chris and Terry are one person, then Terry supposedly controls Brymack and Chris supposedly controls HF. They're treated as one individual. That's the presumption of affiliation. So the SBA Office of Hearings and Appeals granted this size appeal, granted W&T size appeal, reversed this aspect of the SBA area office's size determination. So this case puts an interesting factual scenario in place for folks who have family members that control other companies. Now, oftentimes, this family member type affiliation is one that's not necessarily intuitive. But even when close family members understand that a family relationship can cause affiliation, it's not unusual for those same family members to believe that that affiliation won't exist so long as the companies in question don't do business together. But as this case, a W&T Travel Services size appeal demonstrates, it's actually the business relationships between the family members, not the business relationships between the specific companies in question, that are at the heart of the SBA's analysis of this type of family relationship affiliation. So even whereas here in the W&T Travel Services case, the companies in question do no or little meaningful business at all, they may be affiliated if the family members who control those companies have mutual involvement in other businesses.